And welcome back. What's been going on in Leroy, New York in the past months? It, in fact, had the entire nation sort of scratching his head. I certainly was interested in it. 12 healthy teenage girls and others spontaneously started stuttering and twitching and ticking uncontrollably. Some were plagued by verbal outbursts, and we even saw some seizure-type activity. Here's a reminder of what consumed the town for much of the fall and winter. Remember this? A dozen teenage girls in Leroy, New York, spontaneously ticking and twitching. They developed the symptoms around the same time in the fall.
Like, I don't want people to see me because everyone stares and says things they shouldn't, and it just makes me want to cry.
A doctor treating them says they suffered from conversion disorder, a very real condition resulting from trauma or stress. It sometimes can affect groups of people. In the Leroy case, most of the sufferers attend the high school and junior high school there. Some in town disputed the diagnosis, believing that something else, maybe an environmental cause, was to blame.
What's going on? Is it something contagious? Is it what's causing all of these girls at once to come down with the same sort of symptoms?
There was a toxic spill resulting from a train derailment in the town decades ago. Chemicals were thought to have leached into the soil and were released perhaps by heavy rains and flooding the same time the symptoms appeared. Environmental activist Erin Brockovich joined the cause, conducting independent tests. The results have not yet been revealed. Meanwhile, another reason for the tics was offered: PANDAS, or Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorder, which is associated with strep and other infections. Those treated with antibiotics are the ones who seem to be showing improvement. Most medical experts believe the symptoms would improve and eventually go away, and so far in a couple of cases that may be so. Now, we sent our own team to investigate and found that the site of the train derailment had not been properly maintained. Tonight, we have some news. Some of the girls apparently have gotten better over the past 3 weeks. Some did have antibiotics, and the question is to what extent that they played a role here, or was this a placebo or something else? Joining us with an update is Dr. Laszlo Meckler. He has been treating the girls from the beginning. And psychiatrist Dr. John Sharp, who is a faculty member at the Harvard Medical School and author of The Emotional Calendar. And mom and daughter, Lana Clark and Lauren Scalzo. Lana, I want to start with you, and well, I'll start with Lauren. Lauren, how are you doing?
Good.
You look more comfortable. You look like you're having less symptoms.
Yeah.
You're certainly smiling a lot more, Mom. Isn't that right?
Yeah, she is. She is. She's doing really well.
And Lana, how's the community doing? You and I have met, and we've talked about all the consternation with the school and the information slow to come out. Is that all settling down?
Yeah, the community is awesome. There's a lot of people out there that are very, very supportive. So, everything's looking on the up and up.
And Lauren, has she, since things getting better, has her behavior changed in any way?
Yeah, I mean, less headaches, stomach aches, no ticking, and she's been more energetic, and she's been doing really well.
Smiling more, that's for sure. I want to remind people, when we've been talking about conversion disorder, if you haven't been really following the story with us, I want to explain once again what that is. Symptoms usually begin or can begin after a stressful experience. People are at more risk for conversion if they also have medical illness, other psychiatric and personality disorders. Symptoms include poor coordination or balance, paralysis in an arm or leg, inability to speak, vision problems, and things that look like seizures and convulsions. Dr. Meckler, thank you for joining us. What's your sense of what's going on? Is this just the natural history of conversion, or did Dr. Trifoletti's interventions with antibiotics have something to do with this?
As you know, we have not seen all the patients. We've seen the majority of the patients. Right now, we're actively seeing about 11 of these young ladies, and as you well know, one boy. We feel that the diagnosis is a form of conversion disorder, and as you've stated before, a mass psychogenic illness, which is basically conversion disorder occurring in a group of individuals that are cohesive in a small area. We still maintain that the diagnosis, and we've reached out to experts around the country who have felt and have been supportive of that. So and the good news is, no matter what the treatment has been, most of these young ladies are improving. In fact, of the 11 patients that are still with us, with Dr. McVig and myself, 8 are improving and 3 are back to normal. And in fact, a
Right.
patient today requested that they go back to work tomorrow. So, there is some good news, and I'm pleased to see that they are improving. And this is what we expected, especially over the last 2 weeks when things have been settling down a little bit.
Great, and also nice to see the community sort of settling a bit as well. Now, I mentioned Dr. Trifoletti, and again, if you haven't been following the story, he came forward and started throwing around the term PANDAS, which, as I said, stands for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorder, classically associated with streptococcal infection. It's in recent years it become a term used to describe a subset of children who develop obsessive-compulsive disorder and/or tic disorders such as Tourette's-like syndrome, and whom symptoms worsen following a strep infection. They also say it can follow other kinds of mycoplasmal infections. Lyme disease has been thrown in the mix. And Dr. Sharp, I want to go to you. I've worked in a psychiatric hospital for over 20 years, and I've seen psychiatrists reach for medical explanations for psychiatric problems as long as I've been a physician, which is almost 30 years now. I suppose that's the responsible thing to do because a lot of things through the history of psychiatry have ended up being medical. Do you think that treating these girls as PANDAS, because apparently they had some positive tests, some antibody tests that suggested they had these infections, do you think treating them had any effect on this progress we're seeing?
Well, it's a great question, Drew, and let me point out that when you're treating conversion disorder, there certainly are objective findings. We can't talk about them on TV, but you've got to be able to understand in these girls' psychology, why this reaction would have been set forth, what makes sense about it. And you've got to address it with a specific treatment plan. And part of that treatment plan is actually somatic. So it could be neuromuscular biofeedback or physical therapy or even some kind of infusion. So from my way of thinking, the girls who are working with Dr. Trifoletti, maybe they're getting the right care, they're getting some kind of IV, something to treat their infectious exposure, but it also could be placebo. It could be something that's helping them a kind of face-saving way out while their emotional issues are being addressed.
Now, we were all mentioning Dr. Trifoletti. He was on the show some time ago. He's been treating the girls, as we said. And here's what he has said on this program, what he believes to be the potential cause, let's call it, or inciting influence for this condition.
We have some early results on some of the children. I can tell you that they are testing positive for, each one is testing for either streptococcus or mycoplasma, which are known triggers of the PANDAS syndrome.
Dr. Meckler, what's the prognosis going forward, and how do you expect the next few months are going to play out for this community and these girls?
Well, I think the community will get better, will heal as the young ladies will heal. In my mind, the outcome is what counts. If they get better by receiving antibiotics in a reasonable fashion, or if they get better with counseling and psychotherapy and group therapy, it really doesn't matter to me. Let these girls heal, and with time they will, and we're optimistic that one day we'll be sitting down and talking to these young ladies and they'll be back to normal. So that's our goal, and I think that's realistic.
Well, thank you very much. Finally, back to Lana and Lauren. You guys are the ones that are at ground zero and have been dealing with all this. Just something you put behind you and move on? Is that the time to do? Is this the time to do that?
No, I mean, we heard today that there are more kids that are showing the symptoms, and I think we need to figure out actually what's caused it. Whether it is an environmental issue, an environmental trigger. I don't know.
Well, I know, Lauren, that people are continuing to diligently cull through the data to make sure nothing is being missed. So we're going to